Hello everyone, this is Abby. In today's video, we will learn how to create Neo-Brutalism UI style. We will learn what color palette and UI elements contribute to this design style. For example, what kind of color combinations create this specific style, and how background colors, primary colors, and call to action colors are carefully chosen to create a cohesive style. We will also dive into the defining UI elements such as border thickness, color intensity, visual hierarchy, and the choice between flat or 3D image. We will also discover how to effectively analyze and learn from the existing designs by focusing on the important aspects, identifying patterns, and ignoring unnecessary details. To help you master trendy UI techniques, we will cover tips like font pairing, mesh backgrounds, glassmorphism, gradients, and how to fade images to white. Plus, we will also introduce practical Figma plugins to help you fasten the process. Let's visit this website and analyze it together. What's your first impression? Notice how vibrant and creative it feels. This initial feeling perfectly matches the landing page's purpose. Look at the title. We can see that this website promotes itself as a tool for enhancing creativity. Its visual language communicates this message powerfully, which is exactly why I chose it for our visual skills practice. Today, we will explore how it uses visual language to convey creativity while picking up valuable UI tips along the way. First things first, you will need to get this design page into your Figma file. You can either take a screenshot or use this plugin. Clicking it will give you a PNG image that you can drag into your Figma file. I typically adjust the size to match my frame size. This makes it easier to examine font sizes and spacing, helping you understand how the design creates its harmonious, visually appealing hierarchy. Pay attention to the constraint button. When it's selected, modifying the width will automatically scale the height proportionally, which is exactly what we want. Next, let's examine the color palette. We will sample colors directly from the interface by drawing some rectangles and using the color picker. Once we have our palette, we can study how these colors work together to create such a harmonious, pleasant, and creative interface. Before we begin, there's one more thing to prepare: the fonts. You can either browse through the font list to find similar looking options, or use a plugin called What Fonts to identify the exact fonts. Simply click the plugin and hover over any text to see which font it uses. Great! We can finally start. Look at the background. We can notice that it's not just a solid color, it has a subtle grid pattern. Remember, our goal in imitating this design is to understand how it uses visual elements to achieve this style and gather inspirations for our future work. So, rather than copying blindly, let's analyze its choices. To better understand why the designer opted for a grid pattern instead of a solid background, I'll first create a solid background and compare the two. This will help us appreciate how these subtle differences affect the overall design. Let's pick the background color and create that solid base. For the logo, I'm not going to create it because when you work for different brands, they have unique logos, and also because it's more graphic. So I'm gonna skip it and use a simple rectangle placeholder. For the button on the right, we will use auto layout with PT mono font and at 18 pixel. Press Shift A to create the auto layout container. Add a background color by clicking Fill. This can give us visibility while we adjust the size. Also, adjust the corner radius and spacing. Change the interface color to green. It has a distinctive shadow and it's quite heavy. So in the effects panel, let's add a shadow. 3 doesn't look quite right, so let's adjust the parameters from 3 to 6 for the right look. Now let's nail the positioning. We can overlay it on the original image. Since the background is a PNG rather than a frame, we will need to create a reference frame to measure the distance. We can see that it's 32 pixels from the top. Another method is that you can use a rectangle to measure distance. It looks like it's 24 pixels from the right. Now for heading. Let's check the font size by overlaying it on the original text. After a few tries, we can see that the heading uses size 45 with regular weight. Let's add a pink rectangle behind it as a highlight background. For the subheading, following the same process above, you can find that it uses PT mono at size 22 with 150% line height. Okay, now we are reaching the most visually striking section. Though it looks complex, we will tackle it systematically. Let's begin by mapping out the fundamental shapes and positions. We will start with rectangles and angle adjustments before diving into the details. Remember this key point. When you recreate a design, your goal is to learn why certain choices were made. So ask yourself questions like, what purpose do these UI elements serve? And why did they choose thick borders here? Just copying without understanding won't help you grow as a designer. Before diving into the details, let's take a moment to analyze the characteristics of the images and illustrations we are working with. First up, the first image is an interior photo with rich, vibrant colors and relatively high saturation. The rainbow on the wall immediately grabs your attention with its bold reds, yellows, and other bright colors. So when we are selecting similar images, we will want to focus on these standout features. We can use the Splash plugin to search for terms like house or interior design and start narrowing down options. Once we have chosen an image, we can tweak its parameters to better manage the vibe and the characteristics of the original. Let's talk about the second image and how to recreate it step by step. First, we will focus on the colors and basic shapes, like the rectangles. Since the image is slightly slanted, it's a good idea to straighten it first so it's easier to work with and align everything properly. The original illustration has a lot of small details. That's not our focus here. We are not trying to become experts in illustration or graphic design. Instead, we want to figure out why this image was chosen and what makes it effective. The skull reading a book adds fun and creative touch with a sense of humor. But if we ignore the theme, what do we notice? The image is mostly made up of lines and a few black filled shapes. So we can keep it simple and create something that highlights the relationship between the lines and the shapes. It doesn't have to be complicated, we just need to capture the same balance and style. Here I'll draw some circles to represent the lines and fill certain areas to represent the surfaces, keeping the focus on the balance between these elements. For the text, we will use a rounded puffy font similar to the original To Write Book Club. There's a rectangle with a border that makes the text look pressed under a card. Let's add a border and shadow to create that effect. For the third card, we will start by drawing the basic shapes like the rectangles. Next, we will find a similar font and adjust the letter spacing to match the original. For the flowers, we will use the pen tool to create it. Finally, we will add the text. The next card is an image again. The thinking process is the same as the first image. We will start with analyzing the image. It's artistic with vibrant colors, so we will search for images that match that aesthetic. Okay, this looks great. The final image looks like a miniature landing page, and we can recreate it by focusing on the key elements. First, let's add a text on the right. And the call to action button under the text. Next to the text, there's a series of circles, starting by drawing a full circle and adjust the arc to a quarter circle. Besides the quarter circle, there are two half circles. Draw them and ensure their size matches the quarter circle on the left. Then, draw another full circle and a quarter circle. Finally, add one more quarter circle and a full circle. Now we have the basic shapes. In the original image, the circles are filled with different colors and images, but since this is a minor detail, we can simplify it by filling them with solid colors. This won't significantly affect the overall look. Next, move on to creating the text and cards as they appear in the original design. Okay, finally, moving on to the chat bubble, we will first add the text, then use Shift A to apply an auto layout. From there, we will tweak the corner radius and add the signature shadow to give it a characteristic look. Lastly, the smiley face. For its multicolored surface, we will create different shapes, fill them with the right colors, and apply a layer blur effect to get a soft look. I'll start with a pink base, apply the blur effect, and adjust it until it looks right. Then add other colors. After that, I will turn everything into a frame, add a circle stroke, and finish it off with a shadow. For the text around the circle, there are many plugins you can use in Figma, such as ArcText and Toolpath. Here I use Toolpath plugin to create the circle text.